You're with Julian on the brown note, a rather short review of The Union, not just down to the remaining time of the show, but because it's pretty terrible. This is the latest Netflix actioner, I guess in the same sort of vein as the one that featured, I can't even remember, Chris Pratt and Ryan Gosling recently, The Grey. I think it was called The Grey. What an apt title that was. And Red Notice. And they used to throw a couple of $100 million at these films. But they seem to have put their foot on the brakes as far as doing that. This time around, it's a very much mid-budget, big-budget film. It doesn't look that expensive at all. Starring Mark Wahlberg and Halle Berry. Mark Wahlberg is a construction worker in New York, and he is tapped up by his high school sweetheart, Halle Berry, who is now an undercover spy for the Union, one of these many organizations that aren't quite the CIA, aren't quite the NSA, but exist on their own with their own computers, which is featured in a number of films. And for virtually no scene in this film makes any cognitive sense at all. They recruit him because he's got no connection with the people they're after. Which has been done before, but given what they ask him to do, it makes no sense. So basically they drug him and take him to London, and he has to go into this auction for the most cloying plot device of all, which is a computer chip or something that has lists of all the other spies on, which is about 10 Mission Impossible movies and 100 other movies in a row. In fact, I think Mission Impossible is possibly what they're aiming for here, with a slightly more comedic edge. And it's a very, very low tier approximation of Mission Impossible. We see at the start that the spies for the Union are taken out when they're trying to retrieve this briefcase, MacGuffin-style briefcase, with information on every spy in the world on. So they're trying to sell it to the highest bidder. So he gets sucked into this world with the caveat that Mike Coulter, I'm not even going to worry about spoilers, he's killed at the start and then he re-emerges midway through the film. And it's pointed out that he's Halle Berry's husband, and Mark Wahlberg's in love with Halle Berry from high school. As contrived as you can get. This is pretty dire. I'd love to say that it's worth a once through, or that anything about it at all stood out. I do like Halle Berry and Mark Wahlberg, and I believe that they might have been friends in earlier years. There's just so little for them to do with these characters. They are as bland as it gets. It's rather a boring film. It did get aggravating watching it. There's not one original bone in its body. J.K. Simmons shows up, Lorraine Bracco shows up, and the action sequences are mid-tier. Some of them are decent, and overall it doesn't look very expensive. It looks more like a $20 million film than a $200 million film. But it's noticeable how much better both the Gal Gadot Netflix films, Red Notice, which got trashed by critics, and particularly Heart of Stone, which was very much a much better, more convincing, more expensive looking, and more imaginative take on the Mission Impossible high-tech, computers can do everything spy universe by miles than this. And I thought that was an underrated film, but it wasn't great. I thought it was a decent watch, but it is twice as good as this pretty much garbage film. So, not wasting any more time on it, The Union I will give a 3.5 out of 10 to. It is trash.